This is 11.1 video on angles, lines, and transversals. A transversal is a line that intersects two or more lines at different points. In the diagram, line T is a transversal. You notice line T is right in the middle. Two lines are crossing right here, and then line T crosses or intersects them. At the top of your paper, you also have corresponding angles. They lie on the same side of a transversal and in corresponding positions. So here we have line A that is being intersected by line T. And in the upper right-hand corner, we have angle 2. Down below, we have one line that's being across, and then it is being cut by the transversal right here. And in the upper right-hand corner is 6. So 2 and 6 are corresponding angles. As we're looking at it, 4 and 8 are also corresponding. 5 and 1 are corresponding angles. And 3 and 7 are corresponding because they're both in the lower right-hand corner of one line cut by the transversal. Alternate interior angles lie within the pair of lines and on opposite sides of the transversal. So right here we have our transversal. It's going right down the middle. And you notice 3 and 5 are both highlighted because they're alternate interior. They're alternate because one is on the left and one is on the right. And they're interior because they're in between these black lines. So alternate interiors are angles are angle 3 and angle 5, and also angle 4 and angle 6. I want you to make sure that you're writing down all of the corresponding and all of the alternate interior angles. So I'm going to do a few of them with you, then I want you to finish them up. So corresponding angles are going to be like angles 1 and angle 3, because these are our two lines and this is our transversal, and so both of them are in the upper left-hand corner. So angle 1 and angle 3 are corresponding. As we're looking at it, number 7 and angle 5 are also going to be corresponding because they're both in the lower right-hand corner. Now, alternate interior angles are going to be different. They have to be on the inside. They have to be one on the left and one on the right, or one on the top and one on the bottom. So inside these, this little section that we've created right here, right there, we have angle 2 is alternate to angle 6. And angle 7 is alternate to angle 3. Okay? Take just a moment and find your other corresponding angles. So go ahead and press pause and then write down other corresponding angles and then check them. You may check your work here. Okay, go ahead and try and find which ones are corresponding. Go ahead and press pause, and you may check your answer here. So the first thing that you need to notice is that when a transversal intersects two parallel lines, then the corresponding angles are going to be congruent. So these two are parallel. And the way that we know that is they've gone ahead and put a little arrow at the end of each one, and that just lets us know that they are parallel to each other. Okay, so that makes angle 2 and angle 6 corresponding, and that means that they're equal. So if angle 2 is, say, 85 degrees, then angle 6 is going to be 85. They mark them with one little line showing you that these two are both congruent. Then you're going to notice if you want additional lines, check other angles, like angle 1 and 5. When we show that they are congruent, we're going to put two lines there, and that just shows that both of them are congruent as well. So the number of lines of little arcs that we have are going to show which ones are congruent to each other. So the first thing that they have said here is that these parking spaces are parallel. So we know that we can go ahead and prove that they're going to be exactly the same. So the fact that we are looking for corresponding angles and we know that corresponding angles are congruent, we're going to take a look and we're going to see, okay, this line and this line are our two parallel lines, and this is going to be our transversal. So that makes this corresponding with this. So we know measure of angle 1 is going to equal 80 degrees. We also know that right underneath here is going to be 100 on each one of those, which makes sense because 80 and 100 together are going to be 180. And you notice that this is a straight line. Okay, let's try another. Okay, once again, these little bars are going to show, the little arrows are going to show that they are parallel to each other. And that makes this one congruent to angle 2 because they're both corresponding angles. Okay, so when a transversal intersects two parallel lines, then the alternate interior angles are congruent. So we know corresponding angles are going to be congruent, and now we also know that alternate interior angles are congruent as long as we have two parallel lines. These little arrows show that they are parallel, and that makes numbers or angle 4 and angle 6 congruent, and angle 3 and angle 5. And remember, the word congruent means equal to. So if this were 110 degrees, then 5 is also going to be 110 degrees. That's all that we're meaning by congruent. So Andy is working on a dude ranch, and she's repairing a fence. The rails of the fence are parallel, so we want to know the measure of angle 1. So this is the top of the fence and the bottom of the fence, and then she has a transversal that is cutting the fence. So we know that this and this are two parallel lines. So what's in between there is interior. And these two are alternate because one's on the left and one's on the right. So measure of angle 1 is 40 degrees. Okay, so now we're going to look at measure of angle 1. We have two lines that are parallel being cut by a transversal. One of them is alternate interior, and the other one is corresponding. So really, you should be able to find the measurements of angle 2 and 1 at this point. So go ahead and hit pause, try and do that, and then you can come back. Okay, so measure of angle 1 is going to be an alternate interior angle to the 100 degrees, which makes them equal. So 100 degrees is the measure of angle 1 as well. Okay, now angle 2 and angle 80 are corresponding angles. So that one is going to be 80 degrees. And you notice, once again, that they are on a straight line, and 100 plus 80 is 180, and we know already that a straight line is 180 degrees. Okay, so this one says make a conjecture about the relationship between angle 1 and angle 4 and justify your reasoning. Before we can begin, I want you to go ahead and write one extra note. We need to remember from 7th grade that if you have vertical angles, that they are congruent. So they have equal measures. So let's remember what vertical angles are. Vertical angles are when you have two lines that cross each other. This one and this one are vertical, and they're going to be exactly the same. So if this is 50 degrees, then this one down here is 50 degrees. Okay, now that we remember that, make sure that that's in your notes. Okay, so now that we remember that, we should be able to say angle 1 and angle 2 are going to be congruent. So measure of angle 1 is going to equal measure of angle 2 just because they are vertical. So we're going to go ahead and prove that by saying vertical angles. Okay, measure of angle 2 is alternate interior to measure of angle 3. So we know that these two are the same because they are alternate interior. And then we're going to take a look and we're going to say, okay, angles 3 and angle 4 are also going to be vertical angles, so they're going to be congruent. But you can also look at it and say angle 2 and angle 4 are going to be congruent. And that is because they're corresponding. Okay, angles 1 and angle 3 are also corresponding angles. So they equal each other too. So you can say that angle 1 is going to equal every other angle. Okay, that's it for this topic or for this lesson.